Imagine waking up tomorrow and everything is gone. The smartphone, the house, the grocery store, the car, every piece of modern technology vanished. This isn't a nightmare. For our ancestors, this was simply life. For 4,000 years, this was Tuesday. What was it really like to live during humanity's greatest revolution? Not the sanitized version found in textbooks, but the raw, unfiltered experience of a family struggling to survive in the Neolithic age, the dawn of civilization itself. This is their story. One day, one family, 10,000 years ago. The year is approximately 6000 BCE. Somewhere in the fertile valleys of what we now call modern-day Turkey, the sun begins its slow ascent over a landscape that would be almost unrecognizable today. In a small settlement of perhaps 50 souls, a family begins to stir. Their home is not a cave. That's a misconception that refuses to die. By this time in human history, our ancestors had mastered the art of construction. This dwelling is a testament to that mastery. A rectangular structure built from sun-baked mud bricks, walls nearly 2 feet thick, topped with timber beams, supporting a roof of woven reeds and packed earth. But there's something peculiar about this house. There is no front door, no windows, no obvious entrance at all. Instead, access comes from above. A ladder leans against the exterior wall, leading to an opening in the roof. To enter your home, you must climb up, then descend into the dark interior below. It's a design born of necessity, a defense against both human raiders and the predators that still roam these early agricultural lands. Inside, the air is thick with smoke from last night's fire. The single room measures perhaps 20 feet by 15. The entire world for a family of 5. Around the perimeter, raised platforms of mud brick serve as furniture, beds, seats, storage spaces. These platforms are more than they appear. Beneath some of them lie the bones of ancestors, buried within the home itself. The dead do not leave this family. They remain, literally supporting the living from below, their presence a constant reminder of the thin line between life and death. On one of these platforms, a man opens his eyes. Let us call him Tuk. He is 30 years old, which makes him something of an elder in this community. If he has survived this long, he has beaten odds that claimed many of his childhood friends. His body bears the evidence of his years, joints that ache with the morning cold, teeth ground down from a lifetime of eating bread mixed with stone particles, muscles that are simultaneously powerful and exhausted. Tuk rises slowly. Around him, his family still sleeps beneath animal skins and woven plant fiber blankets. His wife, we'll call her Ira, lies with their youngest child, barely a year old, pressed against her for warmth. Their other children, 8 and 5, are curled together on an adjacent platform. The fire in the central hearth has burned down to embers. This will be Tuk's first task of the day. In the modern world, fire comes at the flick of a switch or the strike of a match. In Tuk's world, fire is life itself, and keeping it alive is a constant battle. He kneels beside the hearth, feeling the faint warmth still radiating from the ash-covered coals. With practiced hands, he adds fuel, not wood, which is too precious to burn freely, but dried animal dung. It's an abundant resource in a community that keeps goats, sheep, and cattle. When burned, it produces a steady, if pungent, heat. Tuk arranges the dung cakes around the embers, then adds a handful of dried grass and small twigs. Now comes the critical part. From a small basket, he retrieves his fire-making tools, a flat piece of wood and a straight drill. He positions the drill against the board and begins to spin it between his palms, pressing down as he works. Back and forth, back and forth. The friction generates heat. Smoke begins to rise. His hands move faster, his breath coming in steady rhythms. This is a skill he learned at 7 years old, practicing until his palms bled. Now, after more than 2 decades, his hands know the motion without thought. A spark, then another. He cups his hands around the smoldering grass, breathing gently, coaxing the ember into flame. The grass catches, the twigs ignite, the dung begins to smolder. Fire. 20 minutes have passed. By now, Ira has awakened. She rises without ceremony, checking first on the baby, then on the other children. Her movements are efficient, honed by years of routine. While Tuk tends the fire, she begins the day's first essential task, making flour. Outside the entrance hole above, dawn light is growing stronger. Inside, Ira kneels before her grinding stone, a large, flat slab of basalt worn smooth by years of use. In her hands, she holds a smaller, rounded stone, polished by countless hours of friction. She pours a measure of wheat kernels onto the flat stone. Then she begins to grind. The motion looks simple. Push the handstone forward, crushing the grain beneath it. Then pull it back. Forward, back, forward, back. But the reality is brutal. This requires pressing down with her entire body weight while maintaining the rhythmic motion. Her arms, shoulders, and back do the work, but the toll is taken by her entire body. Ira will grind grain for 2 to 3 hours today. Tomorrow, she will do it again. And the day after, and the day after that. Every single day for the rest of her life. As she works, her 8-year-old daughter, the eldest child, comes to kneel beside her with a smaller, grinding stone. The girl's technique is still awkward. Her arms not yet strong enough for the work, but she's learning. By the time she reaches her mother's age, her body will be shaped by this task just as profoundly. The 5-year-old son helps his father, learning to feed the fire, to recognize when it needs more fuel, to understand the language of smoke and flame. The baby, mercifully, sleeps a bit longer. Slowly, painfully slowly, wheat kernels become flour. But the flour is not pure. Tiny fragments of the grinding stone break off with each push, mixing with the grain. This stone dust will become part of the bread. It will be eaten, and over years and decades, it will wear down teeth to stumps. The price of civilization is paid in many currencies. This is one of them. As the grinding continues, Tuk prepares the morning meal using yesterday's flour. He mixes it with water in a clay pot, creating a thick porridge. This pot itself represents hours of work. Clay dug from a riverbank, mixed with crushed shell to prevent cracking, shaped by hand, dried for days, then fired in a hot flame that might destroy it at any moment. He adds the pot to the fire. The porridge begins to bubble. There is no salt, no spices, no flavoring of any kind. Perhaps a drizzle of honey if the family has been lucky enough to raid a wild beehive recently. Perhaps some goat's milk, though this will likely cause stomach discomfort. Most adults in this era cannot properly digest milk, lacking the genetic mutation that would spread through human populations in the millennia to come. The family eats together in the smoky dimness of their home. The children are quiet, tired, still waking. Ira chews slowly, mindful of a tooth that has been causing her pain for weeks. Tuk eats quickly, his mind already on the day's work ahead. This meal is identical to yesterday's breakfast, and tomorrow's, and the day after that. Variety is a luxury that won't exist for most people for thousands of years to come. It is enough to survive. Barely. The sun has fully risen now. Took gathers his tools, implements that would seem laughably primitive to modern eyes, but represent the pinnacle of available technology. A digging stick, its point hardened in fire. A hoe made from a flat stone blade, lashed to a wooden handle with plant fiber cordage. A stone knife tucked into his belt. The settlement is coming to life around them. Smoke rises from other roof openings. The sound of grinding stones creates a constant background rhythm. Dozens of women performing the same task as Ira, their stones singing in unison. Children's voices carry on the morning air. A dog barks. Goats bleat, eager to be let out to graze. Took and his son walk toward the fields. These are not the vast agricultural expanses of modern farming. The entire community's cropland might cover 2 or 3 acres, small plots carved from wild grassland, painstakingly cleared of stones and competing vegetation. The wheat is growing well. The stalks reach nearly to Took's waist, heavy heads beginning to form. In a few more weeks, the harvest will begin, the most critical time of the year, when the entire community will work from dawn until long after dark, racing to bring in the grain before birds, rodents, weather, or rot can claim it. Took drops to his knees at the edge of the field. With his hands and his stone knife, he begins to remove the competing plants that threaten to choke out the wheat, one plant at a time. Bend, pull, cut, move forward, bend, pull, cut. The sun climbs higher. The work continues. Bend, pull, cut, bend, pull, cut. This will be Took's entire day, 6 hours, perhaps 8, on his knees in the dirt, under the brutal sun, pulling weeds by hand. Back at the house, Ira's day is no less demanding. The grinding is finally complete. 3 hours of labor to produce enough flour for today and tomorrow. Her arms ache. Her back aches. Her knees, which have knelt on hard earth for decades, send sharp pains up her legs when she stands. But there is no rest. Every garment worn by every member of the family must be created from raw materials. First, the sheep must be sheared, a skill in itself, requiring cooperation between multiple people to restrain the animal while removing its wool without injuring it. Or flax must be harvested from the fields, dried, and processed to separate the fibers from the woody stalks. Then the fibers must be cleaned, combed, and prepared. Then they must be spun into thread using a drop spindle, a small weighted stick that is set spinning while the spinner carefully feeds fiber onto it, twisting it into strong thread. This process is so time-consuming that it will continue largely unchanged for 7,000 years. Once enough thread is created, and we're talking miles of thread for a single garment, it must be woven on a loom into fabric. Then the fabric must be cut and sewn using bone needles and more thread. Ira is currently working on a new tunic for her eldest daughter, who is growing rapidly. She spins while she watches the toddler, while she keeps an eye on the cooking pot, while she monitors the animals grazing nearby. Her hands move constantly, automatically, while her mind tracks a dozen different concerns. Other women from the settlement drift by throughout the morning. They don't announce themselves. There are no doors to knock on after all. They simply appear, climbing down through their roof entrances or calling out greetings from outside. As the sun reaches its peak, work slows. The heat is too intense, the risk of exhaustion too great. Took and his son return from the fields. Other men and children emerge from the grain plots. The community gathers in the shade of houses and the few trees that grow near the settlement. The midday meal is simple: leftover porridge, more bread, perhaps some cheese made from the morning's milk. The adults eat quickly, then rest for a short while, 30 minutes, perhaps an hour. Even this brief respite is necessary. The physical demands of Neolithic life are relentless. Today, he must replace the handle on his hoe. The stone blade is still good, but the wooden handle has cracked. This means selecting the right piece of wood, straight-grained, strong, the right diameter. It means shaping it with stone tools, a process that takes patience and skill. It means drilling a hole for the blade binding, using a bow drill that creates friction heat to burn slowly through the wood. Ira, meanwhile, has moved on to pottery work. One of the family's storage jars has developed a crack, allowing grain to leak out and inviting rodents. A new jar must be made. She works with clay that was dug from the riverbank days ago and left to age. She mixes it with crushed shells, temper, which will prevent the clay from cracking as it dries. Then she begins the painstaking process of building the jar by hand. There is no potter's wheel. That technology is still centuries away. Instead, she rolls long coils of clay, stacking them in circles, one atop another, slowly building up the walls of the vessel. Her fingers smooth each coil into the one below, erasing the seams, shaping the form. This jar will take days to complete. After the shaping comes the drying period, at least a week, often longer, during which the clay slowly releases its moisture. If it dries too quickly, it will crack. If it stays too wet, it will collapse. Then comes the firing, the most dangerous part. The nearly finished jar must be placed in a fire pit and surrounded by fuel. The temperature must get hot enough to transform clay into ceramic, around 600 to 800 degrees Celsius. But if the temperature rises too quickly, or if there's any hidden moisture in the clay, the jar will explode into fragments, weeks of work destroyed in an instant. As shadows lengthen, the community begins to draw inward. The animals must be brought in, not into the houses themselves, but into small pens attached to each dwelling. The goats and sheep are counted, ensuring none have wandered off or been taken by predators. They settle in for the night, their body heat radiating through the walls, providing a small measure of warmth for the coming cold hours. Tools are cleaned and stored. Fires are built up for the evening. Children are called in from their wanderings. The pace of activity shifts from the frantic productivity of day to the more measured rhythm of night. The baby nurses one last time, then falls into sleep. The 5-year-old is already unconscious, exhausted from a day of learning and exploring. The 8-year-old fights sleep for a few more minutes, listening to her parents' quiet conversation, until she too succumbs. Took adds more dung to the fire, building it up to last through the night. The house is never truly warm, but the combination of fire, thick walls, and the body heat of animals in the adjacent pen keeps the worst cold at bay. He and Ira settle onto their own platform. Their conversation is quiet, practical. Tomorrow he will join a group working on repairs to the communal grain storage structure. She will need to finish the pottery before the clay dries too much to work. The daughter needs a new tunic by the time cold weather returns. They speak of ordinary things, the same things couples have discussed for all of human history: work, children, plans, concerns, hopes. Outside, The settlement is dark. No streetlights, no porch lamps, no glowing windows. Just darkness, punctuated by the dim glow of smoke rising from roof openings where fires still burn. Above, the night sky is spectacular beyond modern imagination. The Milky Way sprawls across the heavens in a river of light. Stars crowd the darkness in their millions, undimmed by any competing illumination. This is the sky that all humans saw for 99% of our species' existence. A sky we've now largely lost to light pollution. The family sleeps. Tomorrow, they will wake and do it all again. This is the reality of Neolithic life. It is not romantic. It is not the pastoral paradise some imagine when they speak of getting back to nature or living simply. It is grinding labor from before dawn until after dusk. It is aching joints and worn-down teeth and bodies aged beyond their years. It is watching children die and knowing there's nothing you can do. It is facing the constant threat of starvation, violence, disease, and disaster with nothing but your own skills and the support of your community. Life expectancy tells the story starkly. If you survive the dangerous years of early childhood, and 4 in 10 children don't, you might reach age 25. If you make it to 25, you might see 35. Living past 40 is rare enough that those who do are treated as repositories of wisdom, their age itself evidence of either exceptional luck or exceptional skill. And yet, for all its harshness, this way of life endured for thousands of years. It spread across continents. It became the foundation for everything that followed. Now imagine explaining the modern world to Tuk and Era. Tell them that their descendants, 10,000 years in the future, will live in climate-controlled boxes where temperature never varies. That food will come from stores so abundant that the challenge is not scarcity, but choosing among thousands of options. That water will flow from walls at the turn of a handle. That light will appear without fire. That they will speak to people on the other side of the world instantaneously. That they will travel faster than any bird can fly. That they will live, on average, 3 times as long as Tuk and Ira can hope for. They would think you're describing paradise. They would be baffled. The fire in Tuk and Ira's home burns down to embers. The family sleeps. Tomorrow the sun will rise, and it will all begin again. The grinding, the planting, the weeding, the harvesting, the cooking, the spinning, the weaving, the building. Day after day, season after season, year after year. It's a life that would break most modern people within a week. The physical demands alone would be overwhelming. The lack of privacy, of comfort, of variety would be maddening. The constant proximity to death would be traumatizing. And yet, they persist. Not just persist, they thrive in their own way. They raise children who will carry on the work. They maintain a community that provides meaning and connection. They live fully in the only life they know. The Neolithic revolution changed everything. It set humanity on a path that led to cities, to writing, to science, to space travel, to everything we consider civilization. But it also created a template for human life that endured for 10 millennia, a life centered on family, community, and the daily struggle to sustain both. We've moved beyond that template now into territory our ancestors could never have imagined. Whether that's progress or not may depend on whether we can find ways to preserve what was valuable in that ancient life while embracing what is possible in this new one. The sun sets on our Neolithic family. They sleep secure in the knowledge that tomorrow will be like today, which was like yesterday, which was like all the days before. Their world was small, hard, and dangerous. It was also, in its way, complete.